In the heart of Kijiji-cha-Nyota, a small village nestled between ancient baobab trees and whispering savannas, there lived a man who defied both age and time, Mzi Baraka, a figure carved from myths and coated in mystery. He was always seen, wearing a cloak made of patched goat skin, feathers dangling from his staff, and his beard as white as ash. No one remembered when he first arrived in the village. Some believed he was born during the eclipse of the twin moons. Others said he had simply walked out of the sky one day. What was certain, though, was this: he spoke to the sky. Every evening, when the air turned gold and the sun rested its chin on the mountains, Mzi Baraka would slowly climb the narrow, winding path to Ngoma Peak, a rocky hill that stood at the edge of the village like a sacred guard. The villagers called it cursed. They said voices echoed there that didn't belong to the earth. But Mzi Baraka went anyway. He would sit cross-legged on a flat stone, eyes closed, hands raised, lips muttering a language no one else understood. Some children would sneak after him and mimic his chants, only to run screaming when a wind suddenly blew from nowhere, swirling their laughter into silence. Others feared him. Even the village chief, Bwanadula, once sought to exile Baraka, claiming he stirred unrest. But drought came that year, just as the old man had warned. Then fire swept the millet fields, again as he had predicted. After that, even Bwanadula let him be. But then came the strangest prophecy yet. One sunset, as the villagers gathered around the central fire, roasting maize and telling tales, Mzi Baraka appeared among them, his presence as silent as mist. He stood still, eyes fixed on the purple sky above. "The sky is mourning," he said, voice low but heavy. "A child has fallen from the heavens before his time. The stars will soon return him, but not all will rejoice." The laughter from the fire died out. Women clutched their beads. Children stared wide-eyed. Men exchanged glances. "What nonsense is this?" one elder barked. "Children don't fall from the sky." But Mzi Baraka didn't explain. He turned and walked back to the hill, vanishing into the darkness like a shadow swallowed by night. Many dismissed his words, saying the old man had finally lost his mind. But one pair of ears didn't. Her name was Amara, a 14-year-old orphan. With deep eyes like the night sky and skin kissed by the sun, Amara had always felt different. She lived with her aunt, a harsh woman who believed children were born to serve. Amara cleaned, cooked, fetched water, and still got beaten for no reason. Yet her spirit never broke. What frightened her more than the beatings were her dreams. For weeks she had seen a boy, not from the village, not from anywhere she knew. He stood in her dreams surrounded by mist and stars, speaking in echoes. "I fell too soon. Find the drums." Every morning she woke with her heart racing. She tried to ignore it, but when Mzi Baraka spoke of a child falling from the sky, her bones remembered. That evening, Amara left her chores unfinished and walked toward Ngoma Peak. The path was lonely. Crickets chirped. Owls watched from tree hollows. Her bare feet brushed against cold stones and soft earth as she climbed. When she reached the top, the wind stilled. There, she saw him, Mzi Baraka, eyes closed, his body glowing faintly in the moonlight. She hesitated. Then she spoke. "Baba Mzi, the boy in my dreams. Is he real?" Baraka did not open his eyes, but he smiled gently. "You feel him too," he said softly. "Then you are the one." Amara stepped closer. "The one for what?" "To call him back," Baraka said. "But beware, child. His return will awaken more than joy. Some buried truths should remain buried." Amara shivered. Suddenly, a wind howled across the peak, louder than any she had ever heard. The sky above them shimmered, and the stars pulsed. And from that night, Amara's world would never be the same. In the days that followed her encounter with Baraka, Amara found herself consumed by a sense of awakening, as though the wind itself whispered secrets meant only for her. She continued her daily chores, scrubbing calabashes, sweeping the courtyard, and hauling water from the muddy stream at dawn. But every moment she stole to herself, she climbed Ngoma Peak to sit at the old man's side. Her aunt, Mama Kondo, warned her repeatedly, "Keep climbing that hill, and you'll come back cursed. That man speaks to shadows." But Amara no longer feared the curses of the earth. Something deeper stirred in her bones. Each morning at Ngoma Peak, Baraka would speak without turning his head, as though the sky translated her silent thoughts. "There are places where the sky touches earth," he told her once, "and there are souls born to walk between both." He told her of To, the sky child, a guardian soul, not born of flesh but formed in the upper realms where wind carried wisdom and stars were teachers. Every 100 years, such a soul was sent down to restore balance, to summon rain when drought threatened, or calm storms that grew wild with rage. But Tao had been stolen before his descent was ready. Someone, or something, had pulled his essence to the earth too early. His soul had scattered, his memories lost. "He is near," Baraka whispered, "but lost in a vessel he does not understand. The sky drums know where to find him." "Sky drums?" Amara asked. Baraka smiled. "Not all drums are for dancing. Some awaken the ancestors. Some open gates. Listen, and you will hear." That night, Amara did not sleep. Instead, she listened, and just before dawn, in the deepest part of night when even roosters remained silent, she heard it, a slow, rhythmic beating echoing faintly from the village square. One she had not heard. Since childhood, dum, 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 dum. The great ancestral drum, carved from ebony and buffalo hide, had been silent for years, ever since the last elder drummer died. No one had touched it since. But now it played. Amara ran barefoot into the square. She stood before the sacred drum, trembling. It was beating by itself. No hands, no wind, just pure, pulsing sound rising into the air. Her aunt found her standing there and dragged her back, screaming and weeping. "You've brought madness into this house," she shouted, and locked Amara inside a hut for the rest of the day. But Amara no longer feared her aunt. Her fear was now fixed on something much larger. That night, she escaped through the window, returning to Ngoma Peak. She expected to find Baraka waiting as usual. But he was gone. Only his staff remained, standing upright on its own as though planted by unseen hands. A single white feather was tied to it, swaying despite the windless night. "Baraka," Amara called out. "Where are you?" Silence answered. She waited until morning, until the stars gave way to the sun. But the old man did not return. The villagers whispered of it the next day, his disappearance. Some claimed he'd finally wandered too far and been claimed by the forest. Others said he had died and the spirits had taken him without a body. But Amara knew better. He hadn't vanished. He had gone to prepare the sky, and then, just when the village began to forget about the strange events, the rain returned. Pigri. First time in 5 dry seasons, clouds blanketed the sky like a mother wrapping her child. Thunder growled like a waking lion, and the air filled with the sweet scent of wet soil. As the downpour washed away the dust of the earth, a stranger appeared, a boy, drenched and barefoot, walking into the village from the direction of the mountains. His hair curled like river moss. His skin shimmered under the rain. And his eyes, looked as if they'd seen 1,000 lifetimes. When the villagers asked where he was from, he only answered in broken Swahili, "I do not remember. I just followed the drums." The people stared at him, unsettled. Some offered food, others crossed their chests and murmured prayers. But Amara knew instantly. This was him. Tao had returned. The boy stood in the village square like a question. The wind couldn't answer. Rainwater streamed from his brow, yet his body did not shiver. His eyes, clear, ancient, and strangely golden in the morning light, seemed to recognize things no child should. Chickens scattered around him, and even the dogs, usually loud and suspicious, sat still, tails between their legs. His name, he said softly, was Tao. He could remember nothing else. Not his mother, not a village, not a path that brought him here. Only a vision of light falling from the sky and the sound of deep drums echoing in the bones of the earth. The villagers did not know what to make of him. Bwana Dula, the chief, narrowed his eyes and folded his arms. No name, no people, and appearing in the rain like a spirit? This is not a coincidence. I say we watch him closely. Others nodded. One elder muttered, "Perhaps he's a wanderer, or a trickster, in the shape of a child." Only Amara stepped forward, trembling but firm. She placed her palm gently on Tao's arm. His skin felt warm, and the moment they touched, she felt a surge, like touching lightning trapped in human form. He came because of the drums. She said, because of the prophecy. At the mention of prophecy, silence fell again. Some turned toward the distant peak of Ngoma Hill, but Mzi Baraka was still gone. The village priestess, Mama Njeri, a woman of thick silver hair and robes embroidered, with cowrie shells, asked for Tao to be brought to the shrine. There, under the carved pillars and firelight, she burned sage and rubbed his forehead with ash. She looked into his eyes for a long while. Then she drew back and gasped. "This boy," she whispered, "has no shadow." Gasps echoed around the shrine. Tao looked down at his feet, and indeed, where everyone else's shadows fell across the red clay floor, he had none. "He is not a child of the earth," Mama Njeri announced. "His soul walks between realms. We must tread carefully." Out of fear, Bwana Dula gave a decree. The boy would not be allowed to live inside any home. He would sleep in the open kraal, under the sky that bore him. He would be watched day and night, but Amara refused. She gathered old blankets, fruits, and roasted maize, and secretly brought them to Tao every evening. And each time she did, the boy would thank her in a voice that seemed too calm for his age. Sometimes he would say things like, "The wind sings differently here. Your heart is bright, Amara, but there is darkness coming." I remember a gate of stars, and something chased me out. On the 7th night, a storm rolled in from the east, but unlike any the village had seen. Black clouds, low and growling. The wind howled like it was alive. The sky did not flash with lightning, it screamed with it. Strange blue fire shot from one cloud to another like ancient warriors in battle. And then came the thunder. Not once, not twice, but 7 perfect strikes, each louder than the last. And after the 7th, the old ancestral drum in the square exploded into splinters without a single hand touching it. People screamed. Doors slammed. Babies cried. Chickens dropped dead in their pens. Amara ran to the kraal, heart pounding. She found Tao standing alone, arms outstretched, staring straight into the lightning. "It remembers me," he said. "What does?" She shouted, trying to pull him down. "The thing that chased me from the sky. It's found me." And just then, the ground trembled. From the western side of the village, where ancient trees met the dark marshes, came a roar. Not of a lion, not of an elephant, but something ancient, wet, hungry. The next morning, footprints were found near the riverbank, but not human, not even animal, clawed, webbed, 3-toed, burned into stone. The elders gathered again, this time, with voices lowered and hands trembling. Something had changed, and deep in the shadows of the forest, something was waking. The days that followed were not like any before. Kijiji Chanyota, once a village of peace, laughter, and rhythm, now lived, beneath a shroud of silence. Birds no longer sang in the morning. The drums remained untouched. Children were kept indoors. Hunters returned early from the forests with uneasy faces, whispering of shadows that moved when nothing else did. Even the air felt thicker, as though the sky itself held its breath. Amara, though only 14, became a woman in the eyes of the ancestors that week. She no longer waited for instructions or hid from her aunt's beatings. Each night she brought Tao food wrapped in banana leaves and sat by him as he watched the stars. Always silent, always alert. He rarely slept. "I remember something now," he told her one night. "In the sky, there are gates, made of drums. They only open when the rhythm is perfect." He placed a hand on the red earth. "I remember falling. I remember a voice shouting my name as I fell through wind and cloud. Something followed. Something not of the sky." Amara shivered, not from the cold, but from something deeper. "What followed you?" Tao looked at her and answered in a voice that did not seem like his own. "The one who was cast down. That very night, the beast came." It was Mama Jalea, an elderly woman who fetched water early before dawn, who saw it first. She dropped her calabash and screamed so loudly that her voice cracked in two. By the time the villagers came running, she was shaking, her hair soaked with dew, her eyes wide. A creature with a tongue like fire, and eyes like boiling water. It walked like a man, but its skin was wrong. It rippled as if made of water and wind and ash. No one believed her, until morning came, and they found Ngozi, the blacksmith's only son, missing. In his place were the same clawed footprints, the ones no fire could erase. The elders called an emergency council. Some demanded Tao be cast out, blaming him for waking something cursed. Others feared that even exile would not save them. Amara stood in the middle of the circle and shouted, "He didn't bring it. He ran from it. He's the only one who can stop it." Buanadula rose from his chair and pointed his staff at her. "Then he must prove it. Tonight, when the moon is full, he must face the spirit in the sacred forest. Alone." Tao said nothing. He simply nodded. That evening, Amara followed him to the edge of the forest. She held a calabash of honeyed water and some ground nuts. "Do not go alone," she whispered. "You're not ready." Tao touched her face gently. "Neither were you, when your pain began, but you stood anyway." Then he stepped into the forest. The trees swallowed him whole. The air grew cold. Time bent strangely. Each step felt like hours. Tao walked until the trees opened into a clearing where moonlight poured like silver milk. There, standing in the middle, was the creature. It was taller than a man. Its skin was a veil of shifting smoke. Its eyes burned from within, a liquid light that pulsed with hate. When it opened its mouth, it did not speak. It howled, a sound that bent trees and cracked small stones. Tao stood firm. "I know you," he whispered. "And I remember you," the creature snarled. "You were chosen. You were meant to hold the gate closed." "I fell," Tao said. "You were pulled," the creature hissed. "By those who feared your power." The beast stepped forward. "And now that you are broken and wandering, I will finish what they could not. This world will be the first to burn." But Tao remembered something. Not all, but enough. His palms glowed faintly. The mark of the sky drummer appeared, circular symbols wrapped around his wrists like bracelets of light. The air pulsed. The wind shifted. He clapped his hands once. A sound like a drum echoed. He clapped again. Louder. The sky shook. He stomped his foot. The earth responded. And somewhere, far away on Ngoma Peak, Mz Baraka opened his eyes. Back in the forest, the creature shrieked and lunged. But as it did, Tao shouted a word that no human tongue could speak. The stars flickered, and for a moment, just a moment, the creature staggered, its form flickered, and Tao saw what it once was. A sky being, like him, but twisted, cast down, forgotten, corrupted. Before he could strike again, the creature vanished into smoke and fled into the shadows. Tao collapsed, and far away in the village Amara gasped and looked up at the moon. It was turning red. The red moon lingered, like an omen over Kijiji-cha Nyota, painting the village rooftops in blood-colored light. Children wept in their sleep. Elders muttered forgotten prayers. Even the animals lay still, as if nature itself was mourning something unseen. Tao had not returned from the forest. Amara waited at the edge of the trees until dawn, her eyes wide with exhaustion, her feet numb from cold earth. Each creak of the branches made her heart leap, each rustle a cruel hope. Then, at last, he appeared, stumbling, pale, his body soaked with sweat, mud clinging to his skin. His eyes, though still golden, looked heavier. He said nothing as he collapsed into her. Arms, and behind him, footsteps, not the beast's, but someone else. Steady, old, yet strong. Out of the mist walked Mz Baraka. Alive. His robes were tattered. His walking staff was gone. His beard had grown longer, streaked with fresh white and old charcoal, but his presence remained the same, silent, unshakable, as if the sky itself moved to make way for him. The villagers gathered when the news spread. They surrounded him like thirsty roots around a spring. "Where have you been, old man? Did the forest spirits take you? Is it you or your ghost?" But Mz Baraka raised one wrinkled hand, and all fell silent. "I went to the sky," he said simply, "and returned because the balance has broken." He turned to Tao, who now sat weakly on a rock. "Do you remember now, child of wind?" Tao shook his head. "Not all, only pieces. I see light, a gate, something, chasing me." Baraka nodded. "It is enough for now." Then he faced the crowd and lifted his voice. "The creature in the forest is not a beast. It is a fallen one. Once a sky child, now twisted by power, cast down when he tried to open the gates for himself. His name was Mukaza." Gasps. Some remembered that name from old stories. Ghost tales whispered around fires. Baraka continued. Tao was sent to stop Mukaza from rising, but Mukaza pulled him through the gate early, before his full strength could awaken. That's why Tao forgot. That's why the skies have turned. A brave young man stepped forward. "Then what do we do now? Kill the thing?" Baraka shook his head. "You cannot kill what does not live as you do. You must seal it, with rhythm, with the ancient drum of gates." "But it was destroyed," someone cried. "It exploded in the storm." "Yes," Baraka replied, "because the drum was never wood. The drum is a person." A heavy silence fell. Amara's heart raced. "What do you mean?" "A person," Baraka turned toward her. "It was never just about Tao. There are two chosen for every age, one who beats the rhythm and one who walks the wind." "You mean," Amara whispered, stepping back. Baraka stepped forward and placed both hands on her shoulders. "You, child, are the drummer of the gate." Suddenly, everything made sense. Why the ancestral drum had beaten for her, why she heard rhythms in the wind, why the earth spoke when she stepped onto Ngoma Peak. "But I'm no seer," she said, trembling. "I'm just a girl, a servant girl." Baraka smiled sadly. "The sky does not choose by status, it chooses by strength of soul." The villagers murmured among themselves, stunned. Mama Kondo tried to protest. "This is madness. That girl brings curses. She sees shadows and talks to the wind." Baraka raised his staff. "And what curse is greater than blindness, Kondo? You beat a child carrying the rhythm of the skies." Mama Kondo turned red, but said nothing more. That night, the elders gathered under the baobab tree while Amara sat with Baraka and Tao in a circle drawn with ash and kola nut powder. They prepared for the final rising. Baraka explained that on the third red moon, Mukasa would become permanent in the earthly realm. They had 3 days and only one path. Amara must remember the ancestral rhythm, the one buried in the bones of the land. The same rhythm that sealed Mukasa centuries ago, but it could not be taught. It had to be felt. Tao watched her closely as Baraka placed a small drum, no bigger than a gourd, into Amara's lap. "Do not play it with your hands," he said. "Play it with your spirit." "How?" Baraka leaned close. "By remembering your pain, your fire, your love." Amara sat in silence, hands trembling above the drum. Then slowly, tap, tap, ta, ta, tap, tap. The wind shifted. Somewhere in the distance, thunder responded. Later that night, as Amara practiced alone under the stars, a shadow slithered through the trees. It watched her, its eyes burning, its hunger growing, and then it whispered, "Play all you want, little girl. The gate opens for me, with or without rhythm." The sky wept rain as the third night approached, but it was not the rain of storms. It was silent, like tears sliding from the heavens, as if the stars themselves knew what was to come. The red moon had grown larger, casting a scarlet glow that touched every leaf, every rooftop, every trembling soul in Kijiji-cha Nyota. No one slept. They waited, because tonight the gate would open. Amara sat beneath the old baobab, her hands resting lightly on the sacred drum. Her heart beat so loud it felt like thunder inside her chest. Tao stood across from her, dressed in white bark cloth, his feet bare, his body painted with sacred ash. The symbols of the sky glowed faintly along his arms. His eyes were calm, but his soul trembled. MZ Baraka stood between them, facing the trees where shadows moved like snakes. "The final rhythm must be perfect," he said, "not only in sound, but in truth. You must not drum with fear. You must drum with memory, with pain, with love." He turned to Tao. "And you must fly again." As they stepped into the sacred forest, the world changed. The wind slowed. The trees bent. Even the soil seemed to hum with energy. The clearing was wide, circular, as if carved by stars. In its center, the air shimmered. A gate, invisible but real, and beneath it, like a vulture waiting, stood Mukasa. He was taller now. His form had solidified into something human-shaped but wrong. His arms stretched too long, his skin cracked like old bark leaking. Fire. His voice no longer whispered. It roared. "You come with drums and dust?" He laughed. "I have tasted stars. I have walked fire. You think a girl and a boy can stop me?" Baraka raised his staff. "They are not just a girl and a boy. They are the rhythm and the wind." The wind howled. The drum rose. Amara struck the first beat. Tak! 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 The rhythm was slow, then faster, then deep. She didn't play with hands anymore. She played with grief, with hunger, with her broken girlhood, her nights of pain, her secret laughter. The wind circled Tao, lifting him off the ground. His body rose higher and higher. His eyes glowed bright gold. His skin shone like moonstone. Mukaza screamed and charged, but as he reached the gate, Tao shouted, "You are not of the rhythm. You were never chosen." The drum answered, "Tuk, tuk, tak, 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 tak." Mukaza staggered as if the beats were blades. His form cracked. Amara remembered her mother's hands, rough but gentle. She remembered being locked outside at night and still dancing with fireflies. She remembered Tao falling from the sky. She remembered everything, and the drum responded. It grew larger with each beat. It pulsed like a heart. Mukaza fell to his knees, but then he screamed one final curse and rushed Amara, claws bared, fire blazing. Baraka stepped forward, but it was too far. Tao saw it from the sky, and without hesitation, he dove. Time froze. Tao collided with Mukaza mid-air, both engulfed in fire and light. And in that instant, the gate opened behind them, a swirling vortex of wind and stars. Mukaza shrieked as Tao held him tight. "I remember now," Tao whispered, "and I choose to seal it with me inside." They vanished. The gate closed. Silence. Then, boom. A ripple of wind burst across the forest, flattening trees, blowing out fires, lifting every heart in the village. Tao was gone. She wept. He was the wind. Baraka placed his hand on her chest. "He is the wind still. Listen." And as the breeze passed through the trees, she heard it, a laugh, a whisper, "Drummer of the gate." I fly still. The sky returned to blue, the moon healed, the children came back to the rivers. The elders drummed once more. Amara became the village seer and protector, still young, but now mighty. She taught children how to listen to the sky, how to drum with their souls. A statue was built on Ngoma Peak, not of Tao alone, but of a boy and a girl, the wind and the rhythm. Two souls chosen not by power, but by truth, and when the wind blows just right across the land, you can still hear them, together, forever.